Sam Raimi is a critically acclaimed worldwide film director, producer, and screenwriter, best known for Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, along with the Evil Dead movies themselves. After dropping out of college at 18, Raimi began his filmmaking career in the mid to late 70s. Him, along with friends Bruce Campbell and Rob Tapert, made the short film Within the Woods, about two couples staying together in a house which also happens to be on an old Native American burial ground. Sound familiar? For good reason. All three men would then try and use the 32-minute motion picture as a proof of concept idea to secure funding for The Evil Dead. According to an interview on... All three men began showing Within the Woods hundreds of times to any and all potential investors, even going so far as to show it on the wall of a shop to the shop owner.
We had dentists, a couple of dentists go in. We had some real estate people. But it was tough to get people who had money who were merchants, who owned stores, because a lot of those people had money, and we would approach them. They're used to paying money and getting heads of lettuce or bottles of wine, and we wanted them to give us money for nothing, for this movie that might be successful, might not. And I remember we showed this first little Super 8 movie in the detergent aisle of a grocery store after it closed to a couple of merchants, and they didn't invest. But we really went to absolutely anybody who was financially capable of losing all their money.
After eventually getting funding of $90,000, which they didn't think was enough, by the way, they began their production of The Evil Dead. Originally titled The Book of the Dead, filming began on the 14th of November 1979 and lasted 12 weeks in total. The film is about a group of 5 friends who go to a cabin in the woods for a fun night away. In said cabin, they find a mysterious book, recordings, and a dagger, and when they play the recordings, spooky things happen. Due to the budgetary issues, this led Sam Raimi and the crew coming up with creative and inventive camera rigs which worked incredibly well, going so far as to use Vaseline along gaffer tape to make a sort of makeshift dolly track, attaching a camera to a plank and running around, breaking windows right up near the camera, and hoisting Ellen Sandweiss on a board through a window. Here are how these creative ideas ended up in the final film.
From our ancient slumber, you will die like the others before you.
However, there were many injuries and problems during filming. Here's only a small number of them as told by Bruce Campbell from his book If Chins Could Kill, and an interview with Ellen Sandweiss from The Untold Saga of the Evil Dead, detailing just how awful it could be on set sometimes.
Right from the get-go, filming was a comedy of errors, or terrors if you will. Within minutes of leaving for the first location, an abandoned bridge, the production van got lost and we spent a half hour trying to locate it. The last few days of our shoot, the spent crew, all 5 of us, lived at the cabin. To stay warm, we burned any furniture that was no longer needed. Betsy Baker, head coated in this stuff, unable to see, hear, or talk, we liberated her from her tomb only to find a full set of eyelashes perfectly preserved in the plaster. Needless to say, we had some explaining to do. It would be incorrect to portray these 12 weeks as a mirthless exercise in agony. Somewhere along the way, maybe once a month, we managed to have some fun.
Ah, the injuries, yes. Well, certainly running through the woods.
Ow! God damn it.
I scraped the hell out of myself. They had laid tracks of 2x4s, and I guess I bled all over those. We couldn't see through them. They were about this big. They covered your whole eyeball, you know, unlike normal contacts that just cover your iris. So all those scenes where any of us are possessed with the white eyes, we are totally blind.
The editing process was begun in New York by Edna Paul. She successfully edited down an impressive 117 minutes of footage to a neat 85. It was here that Raimi would go on to meet the Coen brothers, as Joel Coen was working as assistant editor for Edna Paul at the time. Editing had its own issues, however, as much as the sound had to be redone and re-recorded again, even going so far as to get dead chickens, stabbing them for hours, and having Bruce Campbell scream for a few more to get the correct sound they needed for many of the scenes. Finally, the film had to be blown up from 16mm film to 35mm film, the industry standard at the time. With all this completed, they needed promotion and distribution. The Evil Dead finally premiered in the Detroit Redford Theatre to well-received audiences, with custom tickets, a spooky wind track playing in the lobby, and they even had an ambulance and security guard posted outside. The premiere was a big event for the movie. After all this, however, history would repeat itself, as like with Within the Woods, they were once again showing it to anybody and everybody for distribution, with no luck at all. Eventually, they met Irvin Shapiro. If you don't know who he is, here are a few of his more noteworthy moments. Shapiro was the one who suggested they change the name of the film from Book of the Dead to something neater. They eventually finalized on The Evil Dead, as it was, quote, least worst, according to Bruce Campbell. Shapiro also brought Raimi to Cannes and screened the film there in 1983.
Please meet this assuming young man who makes his living frightening people, Stephen King.
Enter Stephen King. King was attending Cannes that year and happened to see the film, and in an interview with the Twilight Zone magazine called it the most ferociously original film of the year. The quote would be used extensively in all future promotions of the motion picture. The film even went on to beat The Shining in VHS sales in the UK that year in 1983. Controversy in the UK surrounded the motion picture as it came around the rise of the video nasties, where low-budget softcore pornographic exploitation horror films could be released through a loophole without rating from the British Board of Film Classification. Even though The Evil Dead was clearly not one of these video nasties, the BBFC were shocked with the film's content. 49 seconds were cut, and it was given an X rating. Then it was labelled a video nasty anyways by the Daily Mail, and it even got banned in multiple different countries, such as West Germany, Iceland, Sweden, Finland, Ireland, and the UK. The aftermath of The Evil Dead is a considerably noteworthy one to say the least. Although it didn't jumpstart Sam Raimi's career, he went on to help the Coen brothers make Crime Wave, and even though it was by all purposes a flop, he had enough studio favour to make Evil Dead 2, Darkman, and Army of Darkness, along the way respectively establishing himself and Bruce Campbell's careers. The franchise would spawn multiple games, comics, a musical, a remake with approval from both Campbell and Raimi, but best of all, a 2015 series, Ash vs. Evil Dead, a direct sequel to Army of Darkness that was, despite being positively and critically received, had to be cancelled because of low viewership. But really, at the heart and soul of The Evil Dead, it's a group of young people with talent and dreams making the film they wanted to make. Sam Raimi and the cast's dedication to the production of this movie is about love, perseverance, and creativity. They gave everything they had to make this film. It's inspired countless fans and filmmakers, including myself, to make what they want to make, to give it their all. And that is my understanding of The Evil Dead.